Hey, my name is Elle, I'm 19 years old, and I'm currently a sophomore in college. Today I'll be sharing a bit about my experience during freshman year with trying to find best friends. As someone who's always severely struggled with socializing, especially when I was younger, making friends hasn't been easy for me. It hasn't even been 2 years yet, and I've already learned a lot of things, so I thought it'd be interesting to share some anecdotes and other things that I wish I knew. Unsurprisingly, I'm introverted. I have social anxiety, though it's definitely gotten better. Many of the expectations I had regarding my college social life were shaped by media, especially social media, which turned out to be super unhealthy. But I remember at the time I was also super determined to make friends because I was terrified of ending up alone. Genuinely, I thought if I couldn't make a bunch of friends by the end of first year, it would be like the end of my social life. It sounds so dramatic, but that's genuinely how I felt. I have a tight-knit group of friends from high school, but none of them ended up going to the same college as me. It was just gonna be me versus the big city. It was quite the change because my high school was rather small and suffocating, and I absolutely hated it. But for me, this is gonna be like a fresh start. I know I've always struggled with socializing like my entire life, but I'm going into this with a new attitude, so how hard could it possibly be?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
In high school, outside of my close friends, I was super closed off to everybody else. My mental health took a huge nosedive in 2020. I basically mentally shut everybody out, and I never once attempted to make a new friend, like, ever. Fast forward to August of 2023. Due to socially plateauing in high school, I was very out of practice. However, my mental health had recovered for the most part, and I had new fire lit under my butt to make some real changes in my life. One of the things I did to step outside of my comfort zone was reaching out to other incoming freshmen on social media to meet up. Yeah, I've never asked out a stranger both romantically or platonically, so this was a huge step for me, okay?
There was a week before classes started where my college held these different events for the freshmen to mingle with each other.
One of these events was going to be giving out free ice cream, so I decided to use this as an opportunity to make a new friend. I reached out to someone on social media who seemed really nice and made plans with them to meet at this ice cream event. So this ended up being a mistake, low-key. I didn't consider how many people would be at that event. Now I want you to do some math with me, okay? What is college students plus free food? The answer is... So yes, it was very crowded, very loud, very overwhelming. That by itself would have been tolerable, but being completely alone and already nervous in that environment is what started to really crumble my resolve. I felt really scared and self-conscious. I knew I couldn't just give up and leave though. I still needed to find the person I was supposed to meet with. I looked around and eventually spotted them in the crowd. They were talking to other people. I didn't have the courage to just walk up and interject myself, so I decided to just sit down on the nearby stairs and wait. As I just kind of sat there like awkwardly twiddling my thumbs, I felt the self-consciousness and the anxiety getting worse. Eventually I crumbled under the pressure and I just yeeted out of that courtyard. I sent them a text apologizing and explaining why I had to leave early. I felt really bad for standing them up, but I genuinely couldn't handle being in that environment for another minute. When I made it back to my dorm room, I just sat on my bed and started crying. And that's the story of my first tears spilled in college. I think I cried because one, I felt like a failure, and two, I guess just being alone, far away from home for the first time. The emotions and anxieties within me were really running high, but eventually I was able to pull myself together. I wiped my tears and once again picked up my phone. Trying to meet someone in a group setting went horribly, so I instead asked someone through DMs to meet for like a one-on-one coffee date. And they said yes! Going into this meetup, I was really anxious. But after meeting the person, sitting down and getting to talk, I remember all of my anxieties just melted away.
Sitting with someone in a coffee shop on a quiet morning, it was a great setting to have a productive conversation without any outside interruption.
Maybe I just got really lucky with the person that I met. I feel like that's definitely a part of it. They even stuck around after I info dumped on them about my hyperfixation at the time. See, that's how you know they're a keeper. Unfortunately, life happened, so we did end up falling out of touch for a big chunk of first year. Especially towards the beginning, I did my best to get out of my comfort zone, texting first and trying to set up group hangouts, but none of it ended up working out the way I wanted it to. I met nice people in my classes, but many of the relationships I formed were very temporary and surface level, which wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Eventually, I just kind of gave up and shifted all of my focus to my classes and part-time job. That definitely didn't make the loneliness and insecurity go away though. If anything, I just felt worse because I was spiraling alone. Every social interaction that I deemed as a failure, or what I deemed as like a failure to build that close friendship that I really wanted, reinforced every insecurity I would have about myself, which was a lot of insecurities. And I'd wonder, is it my personality? Is it my looks? Am I too much? Am I too little? All of that just culminating into the thought that I am just not good enough. I felt as if I didn't have anyone at college I could confide in about my issues. The rare times I could bring myself to ask for help, I'd call up my high school friends. I really appreciated their support, even though physically we were very far away from each other, but it didn't fill the ever-growing black hole in my soul. Whenever it was time to doom scroll, I would just open Instagram and be flooded with pictures of people my age who seemingly just had everything figured out, and they had already found their people, or I don't know, they just generally just looked so much happier than me, and it felt like I was the only one who was aimlessly floating in space. I had forgotten that social media is not a reflection of reality, and I projected my insecurities onto everything I would see. And I was like, wow, I hate myself. Time to stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and review every social cue that probably flew over my head. Okay, so here is what I didn't realize until like halfway through 2024, okay? Come here. It's okay to be alone. Yeah, I needed to learn how to be okay by myself. That may sound counterproductive, but the truth is, no amount of friends could fix what was going on inside of me if I didn't know how to like myself first. My biggest issue was that I had tied all of my self-worth onto other people, and I didn't know how to feel secure without other people's validation. Looking back, I think I had slowly kind of become an amalgamation of a person where I became, in a lot of ways, like what I thought other people would want me to be. First of all, it was making me exhausted and miserable. Second, girl, you're not gonna find real friends like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how I didn't fully process it back then, but like I was way too focused on saying or doing the right things to be liked. After spending a lot more time by myself, I kind of was forced to spend a lot more time by myself, and this definitely took a lot of practice and it took a lot of time, but I did become more comfortable being alone. Eventually, learning to be comfortable alone doesn't mean pushing away people or isolating yourself. It's about recognizing that while relationships can bring a lot to your life, they shouldn't define your entire sense of self. The more I got comfortable being alone, something surprising happened. I made more friends. I made more friends, and the friendships that I already had, I think they improved. Or at least the way I approached them mentally, everything just improved. Yeah, work on yourself. It helps you make friends, yeah. I stopped clinging to relationships out of fear and started forming them out of genuine connection. Without any of the pressure I put myself under during freshman year, friendships came way more naturally. I met really nice people in my classes and even got asked out for coffee, which is a first for me. Even though I started to also care less about having like a gorilla grip, I don't know if that's like the right phrasing for that, but like having like a gorilla grip on like my friendships, everything was fine because the people who really care about you will stick around anyways. Cherish those people, not the ones who won't put in any effort. If I could talk to my 18-year-old self, I would definitely tell her that friendships are a two-way street, and you probably shouldn't blame yourself for the other person's lack of effort, care, or communication, because frankly, some things are just out of your control. Just learn to roll with the punches and move on with your life, because you are worth too much to constantly worry about people who don't worry about you. You're gonna meet a lot of different people and it's not gonna work out a lot of the times. The important thing is to never, this sounds so cheesy, but you can't give up. You're never gonna find people who click with you if you stop. So don't give up and keep trying, because eventually, with enough patience and with enough practice, and after embarrassing yourself an unbearable amount of times, you're gonna meet good people. You'll also learn to better appreciate the people who are already in your life. It's been a really slow and non-linear process for me, but I know the pace of finding real friends varies from person to person. This is why it's really important to not compare yourself to others. You are on your own journey, so you should be focusing on yourself. I now spend a lot less time on social media, and that really helps. It really helps with not comparing yourself. Sometimes the best thing to do is just shut off your phone and focus on yourself. I know I still have a lot to learn because, I've so much more of life to experience, but yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts as of now. If you could relate to me at all or just want to talk about your own experiences, feel free to leave a comment down below, and hopefully I'll see you next time.